Well, it's a new spring is upon us, and baseball season's, I guess, 3 weeks away from the day we'll kick things off, and we're excited about getting out there today as a group, together, healthy, probably for the first time, since we had a team meeting here in September. So we're excited. The guys are bouncing off the walls. They're ready to go out there and play and compete against each other, and we get that started today with this weekend 3 scrimmages. We hope to have 11 scrimmages over the course of the preseason before we crank it up opening day, and got some difficult decisions to make. Got some competition going on out there between some pretty good players, and we look forward to watching them perform. Obviously, we're going to be blessed this weekend with some great weather, which makes it even more exciting and creates an environment for us to maybe get a more fair evaluation of the kids that are going to be performing. So excited about our players and what they've done in the fall, what they accomplished academically, what they did in the community. Now it's time to strap it on and play baseball. And I'm excited about the team that we're going to be able to put on the field. And starts on February 19th at 4 o'clock. And but today, first things first, we get to see our guys scrimmage and compete, and pitchers throw and put some people in some game situations, and put them in some situations in which it'll help our coaches make some very important decisions that we have to make prior to opening day. That being said, open it up for questions.
Questions, please raise your hand.
Coach, here in the back, how much does last year's disappointment fuel this team going in, and do you guys feel maybe perhaps other programs are doubting you because of what happened last year?
Well, I think there's a sense of urgency around here. I think our players were very disappointed in the way last year went, the ones that are returning. But we also got a lot of new players that weren't here, and some new players that are very talented. And they don't know what happened last year. They didn't experience it, at least. And the guys that are here, that were here last year, I feel great about their leadership. I feel great about what D.C. Arendas has done in the locker room, what Marcus Mooney's done in the locker room, what Clark Schmidt's done in the locker room. I feel great about our leadership today. The leadership they've given to our young guys in the weight room, our new guys in the weight room, on the practice field, in the cages. I feel great about the leadership that we have as it stands today, but we hadn't played. So there is certainly a sense of urgency. All I can go off of is what I've seen with this group of players. And since September, they've been great to work with. They've worked extremely hard, and they showed me some signs of being a special team. And that's why we're excited. Everybody feels good about their team today, and every coach in the country feels good about their team today. But with that being said, I've been really close to this group as far as every practice, every workout, and everything they've done off the field, what they've done in the classroom. I have a good feeling about the way they're going to perform and the product that we're going to put on the field. I think it's going to be a team that our fans and our followers are proud of.
Chad, this time last year, 2 of your 3 weekend spots were relatively settled. You knew what you were getting in the rotation. With this year being as open as it seems to be, can you put a number on how many different guys you feel like right now are competing for the opportunity to be in that weekend rotation?
Well, yeah, I mean, Wine Coop's not here. Will Crow's out for the year because of his injury. So, yeah, we're going to have some new guys on the weekend. We have some decisions to make. One of the things that's going to happen these next 11 scrimmages is we're going to have to make a lot of decisions in regards to our pitching staff. There's a lot of talented kids, new faces, that are pretty close in the way that they've performed. Not much separation between those guys. But right now, Clark Schmidt has stood out. I mean, he's been a guy that much improved from a year ago. Obviously, he has a weekend experience, and he has a great arm, great demeanor, great work ethic, great competitor. So we feel good about Clark. We feel great about the talent that Braden Webb brings. I feel he's as gifted an arm as we have on our pitching staff, but he's a freshman. I like the fact that he's a little bit older than most freshmen. But he's got great stuff. What are we going to do with Josh Reagan? What are we going to do with Taylor Widener? What are we going to do with Reed Scott? A lot of decisions have to be made in regards to that. But that's the hard part for us. The good news is the number of pitchers and the depth that we have, I feel good about the talent. So I feel good. It's not like I'm trying to hide somebody that's not talented. I feel like I just got to put a talented kid in a role that both benefits him and our team. And that's a lot easier problem to have than having a pitching staff that lacks depth. I think I have a pitching staff that has great depth. And there could be a number. Adam Hill's a great freshman that showed great promise. He could factor into the weekend at some point this year. Does it happen early? Does it happen after he gets his feet wet through some middle week, experience? Who knows? Those are things that I think these 11 scrimmages are going to help us determine.
Chad, when you have a team where roughly half your roster hasn't played a game for you before, I mean, what's that dynamic like after years of having all those guys who'd been to Omaha over and over
Right.
again?
Well, it's both scary and exciting. A lot of these kids understand the expectations that are before them at the University of South Carolina, and that's one of the reasons that they came here. But all I can do is go off of how I feel, what I've seen, what I've observed, and it doesn't matter. It's a new team. You have a new team every year in college baseball. You might have some familiar faces. We have unfamiliar faces this year, but they're not. They might be unfamiliar to you, but they're not so unfamiliar to me because I've recruited them. I've seen them in high school. I've seen them at the JUCO level. I know how they perform. So I think I have a good feeling about the type of team that we'll have. And I'm excited for everybody else to see and to witness and observe what I've been lucky enough to observe from a recruiting standpoint over the last couple of years. But it is. I don't think one player on our roster has been to the College World Series, and hopefully we can change that here in a few months.
What have you seen out of Taylor Widener in his recovery, and how quickly do you expect him to factor in what kind of role?
Well, I don't know the role, but Taylor is healthy. His bullpens have been great. He's bouncing back from his bullpens, which that was a concern. Anytime you have a procedure on your elbow, you worry about if you're going to be able to bounce back or if your recovery time is going to take a little bit longer than normal, and his hasn't. His bullpens have been impressive. It looks like his arm, and he's gotten over that psychological hurdle of having a procedure done on his elbow. And that's a decision that we're going to have to make in how we use Taylor. We love his arm. He's got great stuff. Right now, I'm leaning more toward putting him in a starting role. Now, does he start on the weekend? He's going to have to pitch well to do that. But he's going to have that opportunity because we like his experience. But he's going to have to improve upon some things too. But it's really early to tell. That could change next weekend. But I think Taylor might be able to blossom as a starter, and we'll see. We're going to give him that opportunity. But we also have to see how some of those other kids perform, and that might determine how we use Taylor as well. If we don't feel like we have enough depth in the bullpen with solid guys, then that might make us think about, using Taylor in the bullpen during conference play. There's a lot of questions that we have to answer because of we hadn't seen some of these young guys perform and some of these new guys. And what kind of improvement has Brandon Murray made? And how Matt Vogel, is he going to make the next step and be a really good guy out of the bullpen? Those are questions right now that aren't answered. But ultimately, those questions, when we do answer them, may affect how we use Taylor.
Coach, Dom Thompson-Williams had a pretty good fall practice before kind of injuring his shoulder there. What's his status, and how, like Taylor Widener, how do you think he'll factor in opening day?
Well, he's healthy and he's ready to go. I love Dom. Great kid. He's been a presence in our locker room. It's very rare for newcomers to come in here and assume a leadership role, but I think everyone in our locker room respects Dom. Some of them, all of them might be half afraid of him too, but he's a leader. He's a worker. He wants to play. He wants to win. Comes from a winning program. That's all he knows. I can assure you he'll factor in opening day if he's healthy. He's one of our most explosive athletes. He's a great he has baseball savvy, baseball instincts. I'm glad he's on our team. I think he has a chance to have a special year for us. He doesn't have to carry us. He doesn't have to be an All-American, even though he has the ability to do that. I'm just excited at him, to be out there and give him the opportunity to play in the SEC, which has always been a dream of Dom's, and I have a feeling he'll do a lot of special things for us this year.
Coach, how much did last year's performance affect you personally, mentally?
Well, it wasn't much fun. I don't know if I've been in coaching pretty much all my life, even when I observed my father coaching. So I know everything doesn't always go according to plan. Some of the best coaches in the world and the Hall of Famers have had difficult seasons. That's not like I'm out here on an island by myself. But what I went through wasn't any fun, and I wanted to fix it. I don't want to go through it again, and that's what we've tried to instill here. That's what obviously we know that South Carolina has a great winning tradition, and years like we experienced last year are few and far between. And we're anxious to get back out on the field and get a sense of normalcy around here. And I think this group has an opportunity to do that. But personally, it wasn't much fun, but I'm a big boy. I've been through a lot worse in my life, I can assure you of that. But that being said, I've also had the experience of being in 6 College World Series, 5 National Championship Series appearances. So I certainly wasn't much used to. I wasn't used to what happened last year either. And as the leader of the program, it's my responsibility to fix it and correct it. And hopefully we have.
What are your expectations for Brandon McClain in terms of, obviously he's a highly recruited football prospect, but also a very good baseball player. How is he going to, once spring practice starts, how's that mix going to go down? And also for Alex, are you looking for him to bounce back? Obviously he struggled at the plate last year and maybe didn't perform up to either his expectations or your expectations.
Alex Destino?
Alex Destino, yeah.
Well, first, Brandon has done great in his workouts here. He's shown me why he was so highly thought of, and I'm certainly glad he's here. He's an explosive athlete, and he's polished. He can do some things at the plate. The ball flies off his bat. He's an explosive athlete. He has a chance to be a special baseball player. Now, you have to realize he's supposed to be a senior in high school right now, and he hadn't played college baseball before. He hadn't seen a college pitch. Today's going to be the first day. So I don't know what my expectations are for him. My expectations are to provide him an opportunity to continue to improve. And if he's one of our better players, he's going to play. I don't care if he's 16, 17, 22. If he's one of our best players, he's going to play. Does he have the ability to be one of our better guys? Yes. But he hasn't played. He hasn't been on a college campus long. And he certainly hadn't seen the type of pitching he's getting ready to see. So let's see how he does. Let's see how he adjusts. And I'm not going to put a timetable on him as far as when he's going to be comfortable and 100% ready, or if he's ever going to be in the starting lineup opening day. That would be unfair to him. But I do expect him to contribute to our team, and I do expect him to be a good baseball player here. And I hope it's sooner rather than later because he has tremendous potential, and it's been fun to watch him practice. I mean, he can do some things out there that are very rare. We'll see how he continues to grow and develop through these 3 weeks of preseason practice. As far as football is concerned, he's a football player. He's on scholarship. He's a football scholarship kid. And, I realize that. And, when football needs him, he's going to be with football. And we'll just – I think they have 15 practices. We have 56 games. We're going to be able to balance that. It'll be fine. And a lot of times they practice on days that we don't play. So – but he's a football player here, and he came here on football scholarship, and when Coach Muschamp needs him, he's got him. And that's just how we're going to handle it as we go forward. And if he's starting and Coach Muschamp says take him today, he's in your lineup, then we'll gladly insert him in there. But he's certainly not going to miss football practice time or football responsibility when he's a reserve here. That wouldn't be fair to the football staff. Alex, I think Alex is going to hit in the middle of our lineup, and I think he's going to do some. I have utmost confidence in him. I think he's one of our best players, and he swung the bat well in the fall. He swung the bat well in the preseason. He's been a little bit banged up with a little bit of a muscle strain, but he's fine. He's going to play today. I love the potential that he brings to our team, and he had a tough year last year, but he was a freshman, and a lot of times freshmen have some difficult moments. But he also had some signs of, where he was brilliant and did some neat things and some great things. So I expect him to be a much more consistent performer this year and hit in the middle of our lineup and drive in some runs and be a player that can protect Dom Thompson-Williams in the lineup. And if I hit Dom third and Alex fourth, I like those two guys in that spot. I like them hitting back to back. I feel like those guys can do some good things from an offensive standpoint.
You've talked pretty highly about your catchers so far, but so how excited are you to kind of get out there and watch that trio compete here?
Yeah, I love all three of those kids, and they all three bring something unique to the table. Hunter's a much different player than he was a year ago. He's not even the same player. Much improved. Coach Esposito's done a great job with him defensively. He can receive. He can throw. The ball's flying off his bat. I love the work that he's put in and his commitment that he's had. I love Johnny Jones's maturity and the fact that he's a switch hitter and left-handed, and I have a feeling he might be one of our better hitters. So I love what he brings to the table. And then Chris Cullen, I hadn't seen him obviously in the fall because of his injury, but what I've seen in these first 3 weeks, he has a chance to be a special player. And I love the way he catches and receives. He's polished. The ball flies off his bat too. We have three really good catchers, and I feel very comfortable about that position. I think that might be one of the strengths of our team.
Chad, you talked about the middle of the order and what your hopes are with Thompson, Williams, and Destino. How do you see the top of the order? Obviously, table setting would be an area we could see improvement from this year. So
right.
How do you forecast
Well,
that?
it's a good question, and that's one of the things that's going to transpire out there from a competition standpoint. I think one of the things that we've done is improved our athleticism. We have some guys that can run and are explosive, from Clark Scalamaro to Danny Blair to Dom to T.J. Hopkins to Brandon. I mean, those guys can 6'5" runners. They're elite athletes. And I'm looking for one of those guys, not Dom per se, but I'm looking for one of those guys to step up and hit leadoff. Danny and Clark have all the ability in the world to do it, but they have to go out there and perform. I love the fact they're left-handed. They can bunt. They can run. They play great defense in the outfield. I'm interested to see how those guys perform. But I could lead Dom off, and I won't be scared to do it if none of those other guys win the job. I'm very comfortable with how Gene Cohn's performing too, and I'd rather hit Gene maybe in a 2-hole or maybe even 6 or 7, but we'll see how that unfolds. He's been he's much improved, and his thumb injury is past him now, and I think he's ready to have a good year.
I'm going to take 3 more questions. Matt, John, and then Colin.
Do you have a timetable for when you kind of like to start getting the lineup filled out and kind of start setting guys into position, or are you going to go right up to opening day to see kind of how it goes?
Man, I don't have a timetable. 4 o'clock, February 19th. That's my timetable in regards to who I'm gonna put on the field. And there's a lot of opportunity for those guys. I'm telling you, I got 14 position players that are. There's only a couple that separated themselves. Everybody else is bundled up in there, and not much separation. LT Tolbert's a freshman. He's chomping at the bit, and he's pretty good. And yet we got 2 senior guys in the middle, in Mooney and Arendis, that are pretty good. Jonah Bride's a newcomer, probably MVP of the fall. He's chomping at the bit to show people what he can do. Where did I put Madison Stokes? I got a bunch of guys that are pretty good players that hadn't been much separation, and I got 14. I can put 9 in there opening days from a position player standpoint. So it's I got some decisions to make for sure. But at the same point in time, we have some opportunities for them to compete against each other, and some guys are going to go out and win jobs. That's what I'm excited about seeing. Some guys go out there and win some jobs, win some positions, and I hope that's what I see in the next 11 scrimmages and 3 weeks of practices that we have.
I know you haven't picked a closer at this point, but as far as the back end of the bullpen goes, are you comfortable with how those guys pitching right now and kind of pitch towards the end of the fall?
Yeah, I am. There's some guys that I think have made jumps, and I'm not sitting here saying that Reed Scott or Brandon Murray or Taylor Widener, we might not have a closer per se to start. They might do it together. How do we use Josh Reagan, who dominated our guys all fall long, who's maybe our most improved pitcher? Do we start him on the weekend along with Schmidt and Braden Webb or Adam Hill or somebody else, or do we use Josh Reagan in the bullpen? I think Josh Reagan is one of our best pitchers. He's not throwing 82 miles an hour anymore. He's throwing 88. That makes his best pitches change up even better. So do we want Josh to start, which he could be very good at, or do we want to use him 2 or 3 times on the weekend and help us win 2 games? That's something I'm going to have to decide upon. But I feel good about some of the improvement that Matt Vogel's made. Taylor Widener, I think, is ready to have a good year. Brandon Murray's much improved from a year ago, and he had some big moments for us last year. And heck, Kanan Cropper's been throwing the ball extremely well as well, and there's been some other guys. So I'm not ready to sit here and say it might be a closer by committee to start the season until somebody takes the bull by the horns, or till our coaches decide what kids we're going to put in specific roles.
You mentioned Dom being one of the leaders in the team. Who else do you see taking that step up and becoming a leader, or is that a job for some of the seniors on the team?
Well, you don't have to be a senior to be a leader. DC's been great. I think our players, he probably has as much respect in our locker room as anybody. I feel good about the leadership DC will bring, Marcus will bring. Dom's very vocal. Dom has a personality like Adrian Morales, and I hate to knock Adrian Morales because he's one of my favorite players of all time, but Dom's more talented than Adrian. and that's pretty cool when you have a kid that's explosive, that works hard, and he wants to lead. And we got some vocal guys this year. There's going to be a lot more chatter out on the field this year than there was last year. These guys like to play, and they like to talk and communicate with each other, and that's pretty exciting for me. And but with Dom and Clark and DC and Marcus, I feel good, and other guys. I feel great about our leadership today. But that's a question you can ask me 3 or 4 weeks into the season too, when maybe we've taken one on the chin, and that's when the old chemistry thing is really, really tested, and the leadership is tested. Ask me then, and I'll have a better handle. But that being said, I can only go on what I've seen up to this point, and I feel good about those guys and the way they've led our younger guys and our newcomers. Thanks so much for being here.